Welcome back,
critical thinkers.
In this video, I'm going to talk about something that I learned in my social psychology class that I took this past spring, and that is 3 theories for what makes a great leader. And I thought that this was a good topic to discuss because it's nice and concise, and I don't know, I just think that there's something about leadership that is naturally interesting for people, and also, again, given the increasingly interesting political landscape that we're in, I think that talking about what makes good leaders is important, or just thinking about what makes a good leader is important, because maybe that means that you know which leader to vote for example, when you exercise your rights as a voting person. Okay, so the first theory that I want to talk about is from Freud, and it is the great man.
He couldn't even have said great person, you know? Like, the dude is so sexist.
So we'll say great person, okay? So Freud's great person theory. And essentially, if you've ever heard the term like natural born leader or anything like that, that's kind of what this is trying to get at. It's basically that some people just have superior personalities. Like you are highly personable or courageous, or I don't know, you have like, you're good at setting goals. I don't know, whatever, but I don't know the specifics. But the idea is that to Freud, what makes a great leader is a rare personality, a rare but potent personality. So it just has to do with the random circumstances of who that person is, or maybe not random. Maybe, you know, I'm sure the eugenicists are going to get on here and say it absolutely isn't random, but I just mean to say that it just seems to be like the perfect storm of a personality. And the second theory comes from Marx, and it is actually it's not necessarily opposite, but it fills a void that Freud's great person theory doesn't cover. And Marx's theory is called the Zeitgeist, which translates to spirit of the times. Basically, what Marx argues is that it isn't necessarily that someone has a special personality. It's not like a natural born leader. It's just any person in the right place at the right time. It's not necessarily, or it doesn't have to do with their character or their personality. It's the fact that they represented the times and the beliefs of the people, and it's just right place, right time. Zeitgeist, spirit of the times, that is what makes a great leader. And finally, the third theory of what makes a great leader comes from Arthur Fiedler, and it's kind of a synthesis of the first two. It's also the one that I actually believe in, and it's basically the Zeitgeist plus the great person. It's not only, it is the right person, so it is someone with a powerful personality, but that is also in the right place at the right time. So you have to have that potential. You have to be someone fit to lead, but you also have to be in a lucky enough position and time to make use out of your personality, basically. So it's both. It's the right person, but also the right place at the right time. Interestingly enough, Arthur Fiedler also had this theory of what the opposite of a great leader is, and I love the term that he chose. It's the least preferred coworker. And this is something that I think anyone can like understand. It's basically, if you were given a task, who's the person that you would least want to have to complete that task with? And whoever that is, that's the opposite of a great leader. It's almost like, it's like negative philosophy, or I was gonna say negative theology, but that's too specific. But anyway, you're taking away from, like, you're carving what it isn't to see what it is, right? So, or what it is to see what it isn't. But anyway, in this case, you've got great leaders on one side and least preferred coworker on the other side, which I thought was interesting because it's not least preferred boss. I thought that it was interesting that it's a coworker. It's someone that you work with, not work for. So I thought that was an interesting framing of leadership, or the negation of leadership is a cooperative role. But Fiedler also split leadership styles into 2 types of leadership. There's task-oriented leadership and relationship leaders, basically. And in either, you know, like the 10% worst situations or the 10% best situations, the task-oriented leaders are preferred. People that are going to say, you do this, you do that, you do this by this time, you know, you might say like micromanaging, all that kind of stuff. That's, and just focused on productivity before people, maybe. Those are the leaderships, those are the leaders that you want in either the best, like the absolute best situations, or the absolute worst situations. However, for like 90 or 95% of the bell curve in the middle, in almost every case, a relationship leader is preferred. Someone that connects with their gonna say subjects. That sounds kind of awful. They're employees, and like talks to them as people, cares about who they are, is more interested in their comfort and happiness at work rather than their productivity at work. These types of leaders are far more efficient and effective in almost every case. Task-oriented leaders are only useful basically when you're either in the absolute shits or things are going so well that, you know, you could almost transcend your business or whatever you're leading group into like the next level. That's the only time that a task-oriented leader is preferred. And finally, I just wanted to make a point that I thought was very interesting. And it's just kind of one single little academic nugget. That was another term that I learned from this class. But that is that charisma actually isn't good for leaders. Many leaders are charismatic, right? It's easy to think that charisma means that someone is a good leader. But actually, when people are charismatic, it's almost like a magic, right? Like charismatic people can make you do things that maybe you wouldn't want to do or that aren't logical. But often charismatic people they're kind of social draw can actually be damaging to how effective of a leader they are, how much they can actually relate to other people and make use of everyone's skills. Whereas really humble people that are willing to engage with the lowest of the people that they lead, those are the really, really effective leaders. It was also said that if you walk into a room, you shouldn't be able to tell right away who the leader is. I think actually this was specifically in the case of like businesses, and you shouldn't know who the CEO is right away if you walk into a room where they are. If it's evident right away that everyone is sucking up to one person, not a good look. You want to have kind of an even playing field, and that's going to make for the most inviting, efficient, and productive groups is that kind of leadership. A humble leader, not necessarily someone that's super, super charismatic and that can kind of convince you to do anything, but rather someone that reminds you of your own humanity and inspires you to cooperate and be humble and work alongside other people. Anyway, that's basically all I wanted to talk about. You know, think about it. What kind of leadership do you think is the best style, and what do you think makes a good leader? Do you agree with Freud that it's a rare and potent personality? Like it's just a great person that makes a good leader, a naturally born leader? Do you agree with Marx that it's the Zeitgeist? It's just any person but in the right place at the right time? Or do you agree with Arthur Fiedler that it's a combination of both? That it needs to be the right person, but they also need to be, you know, standing by in the right place at the right time to be picked up by chance, basically. And yeah, that's all I have to talk about today. So I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, stay curious.